Good day, students. In our introduction class to property, plant and equipment, we saw how you determine the cost of property, plant and equipment, and we said that it will include the purchase price and it will also include directly attributable cost. And then we typed there a definition of directly attributable cost, and we also discussed what it means. So here we've got an example. We've got a class question or a class example on how we will deal with the cost of property, plant and equipment. So let us just see what is required of us. They say there, calculate the total capitalized cost of the factory. If a cost should not be capitalized, in other words, if it should be written off as an expense, then show a 0 in the amount column on the answer sheet, and then they've provided us with a little answer sheet which we will populate as we go along. So now let's go and read the question. They say there, Sanitized Products bought a plot of land on credit on the 1st of November 2019, on which it intended to erect a factory for the manufacture of bottles of hand sanitizer. The following costs were incurred in connection with this project, which was completed on the 20th of August 2020. And then they provide us with various costs, and we've got to go and determine whether it should be capitalized as part of the cost of this factory, in other words, the property, plant and equipment, or should it be written off as an expense? Right, so let's start with the first one there, purchase price of the plot of land. Now we already know purchase price by definition will form part of the cost of the assets, all right? That we know must be part of the cost of the assets. So let us go and populate our answer sheet. We copy there and we go and paste it in our answer sheet. And the amount there, the purchase price for that plot of land, 1,200,000. Let's have a look at the second one. There they say the cost of material and labor to erect the building was for an amount of 1,800,000 rands. Now here, there are more than one way in which we can look at this. First of all, if we look at the cost of the material on its own, the cost of material on its own would normally be regarded as part of the purchase price. So the cost of the material would certainly be part of the cost of this factory that they are going to be constructing. When it comes to the labor part, that is not necessarily part of your purchase price. It isn't part of your purchase price. So now we have to go and determine, is this a directly attributable cost, this labor, or is it not? If it is a directly attributable cost, it must be capitalized as part of the cost of this building. If it is not regarded as a directly attributable cost, then we know we have to write it off as an expense. Now, the way we go about this, and this is according to that definition that we find in IAS 16. The first question that we have to ask ourselves is it a necessary cost? Is the cost necessary? Can we do without it or can't we do without it? Now, clearly the building is not going to erect itself. If you do not have labor costs, if you do not incur labor costs, if you do not pay certain people, the construction people, to erect the building, you're not going to have a factory, right? So clearly it is a necessary cost. Now, as you know, it must play a significant role in one of two possibilities. Doesn't have to be both, can be either the one or the other. So perhaps we can ask the question in such a way that we always have to ask both subsequent questions. Is the labor going to play any role, any significant role in the location of the factory? Would it move the factory? And the answer there is no, right? So that tends to point that it might not be a directly attributable cost, but that is not the only question we must ask. We must now also ask the third question. Does it play a significant role in the condition of the factory building? And there, I'm sure all of you will immediately say yes, because if there's no labor, if they do not build it, then the condition, there won't be a building, right? So there won't be a building that you can actually put your machinery in where you can manufacture those bottles of hand sanitizer. So it definitely has a critical role in the condition of the building. So certainly that will be a directly attributable cost, and we are going to capitalize that as part of the cost of this asset. So the cost of material, which is part of our purchase price, plus the labor, both of them would be part of the cost of this particular factory. So let us go and include it there in our answer. So let's go to this third item. The third item is the cost of transporting the materials to the building site. So that materials that we have purchased, that's part of our purchase price. That material that we've acquired to erect the building, that had to be transported from the supplier of those materials to the place, to this plot of land where we are erecting or constructing this actual factory. So, ladies and gentlemen, now again we've got to go and decide, is that a directly attributable cost or not? And we are going to go about it the same way as before. The first question we need to ask ourselves, is it a necessary cost? Right? Yes or no? Is it a necessary cost? Can we start building this factory? Can we erect the factory if the materials are still at the supplier, or must the materials be there on site? Clearly, ladies and gentlemen, the materials must be on site before we can use it to construct this building. So it is a necessary cost. Then we can ask ourselves, does that play a significant role in the location of the materials? And the answer there is yes, because you are transporting it from the manufacturer, from the supplier to the site where you are erecting this building. So clearly that will again be a directly attributable cost. So we are going to fill that in on our answer sheet. And the amount was 28,000 rands. So that is very similar to what you know from inventory, where you've got transport inwards. Very similar principle. Let's go and have a look at the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, fourth, that one. Cost of installing electricity in the building. Cost of installing electricity in the building. Now again, we go through that same process, that same reasoning. The first question we ask ourselves, is it a necessary cost, or can we do without it? Now you can imagine for yourself, if you haven't got electricity in that factory building, your machines won't work. So you won't be able to manufacture any items, right? So it clearly is a necessary cost. Now we can ask the subsequent two questions. Does it play a significant role in the location of the asset? And in this case, the answer is no. But remember, that's not the only subsequent question we have to ask. There's another one. So our further question is, does it play a significant part in the condition of this factory building? And there the answer is clearly Yes, right. If you do not have electricity in that factory building, then it is not in a condition to be able to manufacture your products, your bottles of hand sanitizer, right? So it must first be in a condition that you can manufacture it, because that is what management intends with this asset. Management's intention with this asset is to manufacture bottles of hand sanitizer. And unless that factory is in a condition where it can be used as management intends, in other words, the manufacture of bottles of hand sanitizer, then it cannot function as that. So therefore, that will also be regarded as a directly attributable cost. So let us go and put that in our answer sheet. Cost of installing electricity, and that was to the value or to the amount of 84,000 rands. Let's go to the fifth one. That one, cost of staff party to celebrate the new. That should not be store, that should be factory. Cost of staff party to celebrate the new factory. So let's go through the same process again, ladies and gents. Let's start with the first question. Is that a necessary cost? Is that cost necessarily incurred, or could they have done without it? Right, so clearly, ladies and gentlemen, they could have done without it. It is a nice to have. It is a luxury. Everybody's going to be happy, but it is not a necessary cost. So that already disqualifies it to be a directly attributable cost, right? So clearly that will have to be written off as an expense. But just to take the argument a little bit further, let's say you are one of those people, you're crucial, your mission in life is to keep your labor force extremely happy, and in your opinion, it is a necessary cost, right? So you feel as the accountant or the manager or one of the owners of this company that it is a necessary cost. Then you still got to ask the subsequent two questions. So let's go to the subsequent questions. That staff party, does it play any role in the location of the factory? Does it change where the factory is at? And there the answer is no, it doesn't. But then we must remember, we must ask the other subsequent question as well. Does the staff party and the cost incurred to have that staff party, does it play any significant role in the condition of the factory? And there the answer is also no. I'm just saying this tongue in cheek. It might play a role in the condition of the workers, the staff, because now they're very happy. But remember, we are talking about the location and condition of the asset itself. In this case, the factory. So that staff party and the cost incurred to have the staff party plays a role in neither the condition of the factory nor the location of the factory. So that, ladies and gents, is not a direct attributable cost. It is not going to form part of the cost of the asset, but we must remember in the question they said that if it should not be capitalized, we should indicate that with a zero. That is probably because it's going to count for a mark. So let's go to the next one, the last one here. Here we've got cost of advertising the products, 16,000. Cost of advertising the products. So again, we've got to go through the reasoning process. First of all, is it a necessary cost? It depends. It's probably a necessary cost, because if you do not advertise the new products, then you not have clientele who is going to be purchasing it from you, right? So the cost might actually be necessary, the cost of advertising. But that is not the only question we ask. Now we've got to ask the two subsequent questions. That advertising, Does it play any significant role in the location of the factory? Does it change where the factory is? And clearly the answer is no. But then we've still got to ask the second subsequent question. So there are 3 questions in total. Does the cost of advertising play any role in the condition of the factory? Right? Not the products, not the people. Does it have a significant role? Does it change the condition of the factory itself? And again, there, ladies and gents, the answer is no. So clearly that needs to be written off as an expense, advertising expense, and it is not going to be capitalized as part of the cost of this factory building, right? But remember, they said we must indicate with a 0 if it is not going to be capitalized, right? So those are all the costs that they have given us. So we've covered them all, we've considered them all, we've written it or typed it here in our answer sheet. So now it is simply a matter of going to add up all those figures. So 1.2 million plus 1.8 million plus 28,000 plus 84,000 plus 0 plus 0. What does that give us? I've actually added it up here on my little computer calculator. It comes to 3,112,000. 3,112,000. Right. So that is what was asked. What is the total cost to be capitalized? Right. So we've got the total cost that is capitalized, 3,112,000, but we must obviously know how to get to it. Right. So remember, it includes purchase price, those 2 items, the first item plus the first part of the second item, and then it includes any directly attributable cost. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you then in the next class.